So good morning once again and welcome back to the online learning platform at Department of Civil Engineering. I'm Rajesh Gopinath and you are along with me for the course Municipal Wastewater Engineering, formerly also called as Public Health Engineering or Environmental Engineering 2 in the curriculum of VTU. Okay, these are your course outcomes which will help you to enhance your knowledge and also apply the knowledge that you would be learning in this curriculum. Now, in the previous sessions, we had discussed about dry weather flow and wet weather flow. Okay, in today's session, we shall discuss about sampling, collection, preservation. So basically, we are trying to understand, how do we collect a sample of a wastewater? Okay, and now when I say wastewater, we are especially talking about the domestic sewage. Okay, probably I might be talking about wet weather or probably the dry weather flow. Okay, I might be talking with respect to the outfall from a separate system. Okay, or from a partially separate system or a combined system. So in this presentation, we shall be discussing about types of sampling. Okay, what are the guidelines and norms about how you go on collecting a wastewater or preserving a wastewater. Okay, then towards the end I shall summarize and list the references for your kind perusal. Now, what is the need? What is the requirement for sampling? Why should somebody collect wastewater samples? Okay, obviously because if you collect a wastewater sample, then you will be doing analysis for it. You will understand its characteristic features, and once you know what are its characteristic features, you can assess or predict what would be the impact of this effluent on the environment. It can be your natural ecosystem such as soil, land, or receiving water bodies. Okay, now that you know what is the characteristics of the wastewater, you can also decide the degree of treatment that you need to give for it. Okay, now once you do sampling and you have done characteristic analysis, okay, you have decided what degree of treatment to be given, you can also understand how can I use the treated wastewater further. Can I reuse it? Can I recycle it? Can I use it for groundwater recharging? So you take a decision. You take a decision not only on the application post treatment, you also take a decision on what treatment to give based on several criteria. So eventually what we are talking about is sampling is very essential because it helps in protecting the public health and also it helps in protecting or conserving the natural resources. Now that you have understood the importance of what is sampling, okay, now let us try to understand the multifacets of sampling. That is, what are the aspects that we need to understand? Okay, primarily when you talk about sampling, you first need to understand what is a sample. Okay, what are the different type of samples? Now, we also need to understand that depending on what kind of test you are carrying out. Okay, are you trying to find out DO? Are you trying to find out pH? Are you trying to find out, MPN? Are you trying to find out heavy metals? Based on what kind of test you are carrying out, that is what kind of analysis you are interested in, that will also doctor the type of sample you must collect. Okay, now sampling also is based on what is your plan. Are you speaking about a short-term plan? Are you interested in finding out the characteristics momentarily, or are you trying to understand a long-term characteristic behavior? Okay, that also decides your sampling. All right, now sampling also engages the sample size. What is the quantity of wastewater you're collecting? Now that would depend on how many different parameters you're interested in. Also, how frequently will you collect it? Every 1 hour, every 8 hours, or so forth. Okay, now sampling also involves permit requirements. Please understand, we are talking about sampling of wastewater. So sampling of wastewater would happen at strategic locations such as pipes, lagoons, drains, open channels, outfalls, and you need to have proper permission before you go about doing it. Sampling also involves occupational health and safety aspects. You just cannot collect the wastewater as you please. You need to have safety measures in place. Okay, you need to have corrective and preventive measures in place. You need to understand what are the do's and what are the do nots in sampling. You need to understand what kind of equipment will I go for. Okay, now that depends. Are you going for on-site assessment or are you going for off-site assessment? Are you going for manual sampling or are you going to use automatic samplers? Okay, in sampling you also decide how you are going to transport the sample of wastewater, how you are going to collect it, how you are going to preserve it. All right, now please understand that whenever you speak about sampling, you're speaking about time-based variation. Okay. Continuing forward, we also need to understand that, sampling is something which also engages the expertise and experience of the resource person. Experience comes into play when you decide what kind of sampling to do. Expertise comes into play when you decide in which all locations the samples will be collected. Okay, so eventually your entire sampling program will envisage all these attributes. Let's move further. What you need to understand is, if you look at the two images on your screen, okay, the image on your left hand side, you can see that the person has taken care of all safety measures. He has a proper sampling equipment. Okay, he has all the safety gears. That's a right way of doing it. But on the right hand side, you see the lady, she is dangerously, precariously, standing on that edge. Okay, she doesn't have any safety gears. She's not following any proper instructions. So that is not the way to do a sampling. Okay, so sampling plan also engages in the safety measures, which is a very prime concern, because unlike water sampling, you're talking about wastewater here. So wastewater obviously will contain not just physical impurities, but chemical and biological impurities, which can be hazardous to health of the sampler. Now, what are the different types of sampling? There are three basic types of sampling: grab sampling, composite sampling, and integrated sampling. Grab sampling is also called as catch sampling. Okay, and this basically deals with discrete samples, wherein you carry out sampling for a short period of time. Okay, wherein you take random single samples at some specific intervals. Okay, now for instance, to be more precise, given a location, all right, I choose the location, I take only one sample and I take at one particular time. So I will repeat, grab sampling is wherein you collect one sample at one particular time from one particular location, and then you make the assumption that this sample what I have collected for wastewater, whatever characteristic it has, that would be the characteristics of the entire wastewater which is being generated. So this is an assumption. Okay, please understand that this assumption may not hold good every time, but it has its advantages. Grab sampling is the most common type of sampling which is practiced by every person involved in this field, because it gives you immediate results. You do not have to spend too much of time or too much of money on this, because you're only taking one sample. Okay, but what is the disadvantage of it? The disadvantage is this only gives you a momentary information. It's only an immediate snapshot, and definitely there is no way that this sample would be a representative sample. A representative sample is that sample wherein when you collect it, when you analyze it, whatever attributes you find, whatever physical, chemical, biological characteristics you find, you can easily vouch that the entire wastewater would be having the same characteristics. But that you cannot say for grab sample. But yes, there are certain parameters which needs to be measured on spot, okay, and may not change for a over space or over time. Okay, for instance, let's say pH or residual chlorine. So when it comes to these kind of parameters which have to be immediately assessed, then grab samples are quite effective. And when it comes to your size of your treatment plants or size of your the generation units, when it comes to small plants wherein you've got less volume of wastewater generated or less faculty, less staffs involved, then yes, definitely it is much benevolent. But when it comes to a larger size, then it would not be good in the long run and not economical as well. Okay, now let's move forward. Having understood what a grab sample is, I will repeat. If I am the sampler, I will choose one location, I will choose one time, and I will collect only one sample. Okay, that's a grab sample. Let's go for the second type, composite sampling. Now, composite sampling is wherein the sampler would take multiple samples. Okay, unlike grab sample, here multiple grab samples will be taken. Now, let me try to give an example. Okay, for instance, what I would do is, if I am the sampler, I would choose a particular location. Okay, and then in this particular location, over a given range of time intervals, I will be collecting multiple samples. So let us say at a particular point, I collect a sample at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and so forth. Okay, and then what is it subsequently I can do? Firstly, I can do individual analysis of all these individual grab samples. After I do analysis of these individual grab samples, okay, then I can average the values and tell that this is the characteristics of this wastewater. The other option is all these individual samples which have been collected, they can be mixed, all right, and then you do an analysis for it, and then you say this is the characteristics of this given wastewater. Okay, now when compared to grab sample, composite sampling provides you a better or more representative sample, because what you're doing here, you're assuming that the wastewater characteristic is not restricted to a particular time, that the characteristic of a wastewater, it varies over a time. So since it varies over a time, and since you're collecting samples over a time period, you get better values. Grab sample had one assumption: the characteristics of the wastewater does not change over space and over time. It is uniform at any point of time, at any given space. Composite sampling, the assumption is the characteristics of the wastewater is uniform over space but not uniform over time. That is why the samples are collected at different periodic, regular time intervals. Okay, now when you do composite sampling, you can also go for manual or you can go for automatic samplers. Okay, now what is the advantage? You are able to cover a greater area. Okay, you're able to include the time factor. Okay, but what is the disadvantage? Now obviously there are more number of samples involved, so the cost would be higher. Okay, let's move on to the third type, integrated sampling. So what did grab sampling assume? The characteristics of the wastewater is rather it's uniform over space and time. What did composite sampling assume? The characteristics of the wastewater is uniform over space but not uniform over time. Integrated sampling, on the other hand, assumes that the characteristics of the wastewater is neither uniform over space and neither uniform over time. Okay, therefore, what happens in this kind of sampling is, if I am a sampler, first I would be choosing multiple locations. Okay, and secondly, I would be having multiple time intervals, a regular time interval. So let us say, how do I go about? So for a given place, okay, I choose, let's say, 5 to 6 locations, and these 5 to 6 locations are chosen based on my experience and my expertise. And then I start collecting grab samples, okay, CAT samples at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. So basically, you are engaged in simultaneous collection of grab samples over space and over time at different points and at different time. Okay, so now this is very important, especially because if, let's say, you're going for a long-term monitoring, you're going for regulatory monitoring. Okay, so now what are the advantages of this type of sampling? First and foremost, it is precise, It is accurate because you know why? Because you have collected samples not only at different time intervals, but also you have collected samples over different locations. Okay, therefore you have encompassed spatial variation, you have encompassed time-based variations. Therefore, definitely this sample would be more representative than any other sample. This would give you a better result than grab sample and composite sample, but it has its disadvantages. First and foremost, yes, it also consumes a lot of time, it also consumes a lot of chemicals, it also consumes a lot of manpower, and even if you replace manpower with automatic samplers, it would consume amount, it could consume economy with respect to your infrastructure. Okay, and in case if your design is not proper, in case if you have not chosen the correct locations and the correct time intervals, then the entire process will collapse. All right, now let's move further. Let's try to understand sampling techniques. In water supply engineering, you've got three types of samplings: manual sampling, automatic sampling, and sorbent sampling. In wastewater engineering, you've got two types: manual sampling, automatic sampling. Sorbent sampling would not be effective in wastewater engineering. Now let's understand this. What happens in a manual sampling? You have human beings, you've got laborers who would be taking care of the process of collecting the sample. So you're talking about minimum equipment, but then you need to pay the individual, and it also consumes time. Okay. Now, when it comes to a large scale sampling program, manual sampling is ineffective. Also, we need to understand that whoever has been employed to collect the sample, those people must be aware of the collection techniques. They must be aware of the scientific aspect of how to collect the sample. So that is manual sampling, my friends. When a human being or a resource person is employed to collect the sample. Now let's move on to the next one, the advanced version, which is automatic sampling. Now, when it comes to automatic sampling, there are no humans involved. Okay, we are basically talking about minimum or minimal human intervention. Everything is automized. You've got systems in place, you've got softwares in place, you've got hardwares in place, and we're actually talking about real-time monitoring or online monitoring. Okay, now, yes, this would be definitely costlier as well, depending on the scale of the project. All right, but what we need to understand here is the compatibility aspect. We need to ensure that the automatic samplers that we are employing, okay, they themselves must not contaminate the wastewater, or themselves should not get contaminated. Because sometimes the material of construction of your sampler can react with your wastewater. Okay, now that's a thing which needs to be, we have to be concerned about. All right, but the advantage of your automatic sampling is you can start collecting as many number of samples you wish to. All right, now manual sampling, automatic sampling, these are the two proficient manners in which wastewater sampling is carried out. Now let's move on to sorbent sampling. Now sorbent sampling is wherein we can get rapid results. Okay, it's not expensive. Okay, but the issue is this is best suited for water rather than wastewater, because you're talking about a membrane type disc. You're talking about the concept of adsorption and desorption. All right, in the case of wastewater engineering, this would not be feasible because wastewater contains a lot of impurities. Okay, and thereby the entire process of adsorption desorption will not be effective. Okay, so let's recap once again. Manual sampling is useful for small scale programs, but it requires trained personnel. Automatic sampling is more effective and useful in large scale programs, but has a cost factor. Now let's move on to collection procedures. Yes, just like water supply, okay, even when it comes to wastewater engineering, when you need to collect the wastewater sample, you need to be cautious. You need to first ensure that you have all safety measures in place. All the occupational health and safety aspects are in place. Okay, now you need to make sure that your container, what you're using, you need to understand what is the parameter that you're going to test. All right, so therefore, should I go for plastic or should I go for glass? Because plastic can also react with certain contaminants. Glass also can react with certain contaminants. I'm talking about sorbing. All right, so nextly, What is that you're trying to find out? Are you trying to find out the dissolved oxygen? If that is the case, then the image on your right hand side, okay, then this is not correct, because when you basically collect a wastewater sample and leave space in the bottle, okay, where there is air, there would be automatically reactions. Okay, we need to understand that from the time we collect the sample until it has been analyzed, okay, during the process of collection, during the process of transportation, during the process of preservation, until it is analyzed, there are a lot of reactions taking place. Chemical reactions, oxidation reduction reactions, also microorganisms are in play. Okay, so we need to understand how to collect it. Now, certain parameters, okay, wherein you are collecting, such as wherein you're testing dissolved oxygen, yes, there should be an overflow. You need to ensure that there is no oxygen trapped inside the bottle. But in other cases wherein oxygen or air does not matter, we need to give some airspace. Let's say 1% of the container volume. This is to handle the thermal expansion which can happen during your transportation. Also, sometimes you need to rinse before. Sometimes you should not do that. You know why? Because probably if you are trying to analyze certain parameters which requires preservatives, so in that case, what would have happened is your bottle will be having preservatives, and the moment you do pre-rinsing, all these preservatives would have been destroyed or lost. Okay, so you need to take a decision, should I do pre-rinsing or not, depending on whether preservatives have been added or not. All right, now, yes, once the sample has been collected, and after the sample has been collected, you of course need to make sure that the exterior surface of the bottle or the sampler has been cleaned. Most often what happens is all your samplers are sterilized. Okay, they are washed and cleaned with distilled water, and also kept in autoclave, wherein all the microorganisms have been destroyed, because your sampler itself should not have been contaminated with any microorganism, or should be containing any contaminant or any aspect that you're going to test. Okay, now apart from all these aspects of physical collection, what we also need to understand is you must be recording all these details. When did you collect it? What was the schedule that you followed? Okay, now once you have collected, the next aspect is when do you test it? Some of the parameters need to be tested immediately. Let's say temperature, let's say pH, let's say dissolved oxygen. Okay, now residual chlorine, all these need to be tested immediately, while certain other parameters need not be tested immediately. So you need to preserve it. Okay, so most of them need to be preserved under sub-zero conditions, that is ice-based preservation. Now when you are keeping the samples for ice-based preservation, we have to also make sure that we don't keep all those samples together. Okay, they need to be separately preserved, and you need to do the testing within 1 hour, or let's say 24 hours, but beyond 30 hours or 48 hours, you are not supposed to carry out any analysis, because by then all the characteristic features of the wastewater would have altered. So there are certain standards as specified by EFA. Okay, based on that we need to decide which parameter has to be preserved how, and how it has to be analyzed. Okay, now let's speak about the collection norms. Now any sampler, any bottle or plastic that you're taking, all right, you need to label them. And when I say label, you need to understand that this label should have been properly kept on place. It should not wash away, or it should not, the ink should not go away because you're pouring water or wastewater on that. Because if you don't label it, tomorrow, or sorry, rather after 1 hour or 24 hours, when you want to take it for analysis, you will get confused. Okay, so that's very important aspect. And secondly, when you're collecting the volume of sample, try to give some kind of allowance for spillage, which means you need to collect extra wastewater sample than what is required in the event of spillages or leakages or wastages. Okay, and when you're collecting, record making, separate preservation, cross contamination to be avoided. You need to seal and pack the samples properly. You need to be wearing disposable gloves. Okay, and after you have done the sampling, you need to eventually dispose them in a safe and sustainable manner. Okay, Now, this is a very simple representation of how to maintain record. So if you look at the screen, it has general information like what is the sample number, where did you collect it, who has collected it, which day and what time you collected, what was the type of sample you collected, was it grab, composite, integrated? Okay, then it also has specific information such as, let us say you're talking about a freshwater body, what was the water temperature, okay, what was the weather around, okay, what was the stream flow, the velocity and other aspects. What type of container did you use? Okay, how did you treat or wash the container? Did you make notes? Notes have to be also provided. You must take photographs, and if there are any tags, okay, you need to fill those tags. All right, now which project is this, which job is this? All right, fine. So this is a very simple snapshot of how to maintain records when you carry out sampling. And this information, what has been depicted for you, is from United States Environmental Protection Agency. Now, friends, in the previous slides, I was explaining to you, okay, that from parameter to parameter, the type of container changes. Okay, the preservation technique changes, the holding time changes. So this is a simple snapshot of which tells you how it has to be done. Okay, let's say for instance you're talking about conductivity, then you can go for either plastic or glass. But let's say you're talking about dissolved oxygen, you cannot go for plastic, you must go only for glass. Let's say you're talking about alkalinity and acidity, you need to do refrigeration. But if you're talking about conductivity or turbidity, there is no need to refrigerate. Okay, how long can you hold the sample before you analyze it? pH 6 hours. Okay, let's say a total solid, that is dissolved solid, suspended solids within 1 day. Okay, or let's say color, true color. Okay, probably 2 days. Okay, now we are talking about chemical parameters. So as you can see, from chemical to chemical also the guidelines vary. Okay, so all these needs to be referred, understood very well before a person goes for sampling. Again, this slide speaks about heavy metals and earth metals. See here, if you look at the container type, unlike your previous slides where it just said glass or plastic, but here it clearly says that, if it's a glass or a plastic, it should have been acid washed. That is the preparation before you use a container. So friends, I am done with today's presentation. So what did we learn today? We understood that sampling depends on whether you have a short-term plan or a long-term plan. We also understood why sampling is important. We also understood how to go and collect sample. We also had a brief idea of what are the different types of sampling, okay, and the accessories. We also saw in the snapshots how to preserve a sample. Okay, we also understood how to maintain records or give representative aspects of any sampling. Also in the images, it was clearly conveyed to you what precautions you must take, what safety measures must be in place. Okay, so friends, please understand, sampling is a very important step when it comes to water supply engineering or wastewater engineering. There are definitely a lot of challenges, and these challenges are actually varying from location to location, area to area, case study to case study, situation to situation. And it is most important that you use your expertise, you use your experience, or you go for expert consultation before you decide the following: type of sample, number of samples, frequency of sampling, sample size, okay, safety measures. So sampling is not an aspect that any XYZ can undertake immediately. It requires skilled supervision. It requires trained personnel. Now, I'll just show you a small video, okay, to make you understand how sampling should not be done. So give me a moment. Look at this. See, so he's got the sampler containers. He's wearing these gloves. This is a video which depicts how to do things and how not to do things also. One should always learn from mistakes. See, look at spillages. So in case if such spillages are going to happen, then obviously you need to collect more wastewater. So this is not the way to do sampling, or even transporting or transferring the samples. So the entire process of having collected the sample has, it is in vain, because now you're not transporting it properly or preserving it properly or transferring it properly. This entire exercise is wasted. See how much of time these samplers or the containers are exposed to air. So obviously, if you're talking about dissolved oxygen, then definitely these samples will not suffice. Just imagine all that wastewater is actually flowing out. That's also hazardous. If in case the sampling was done to understand solids, then this entire exercise has resulted in a big loss. So you can see that, he's collecting the sample, probably impurities from the road also. So is this a true sample? No. Is this a representative sample? Definitely no. So probably everything of this is going to put in one container. Then are the other samples of any benevolence? No. After a very good sampling procedure, unfortunately, in a wrong manner, you transfer the samples and then you give results. Unfortunately, all those results are in vain. As I told you, sampling is very, very important. Okay? And we cannot afford to make lapses of any kind when it comes to sampling. So friends, I also would request you to go through the YouTube video which I mentioned next to it, that is additional viewing. If you actually click on this link, all right, you'll have a real-time case study in place wherein you will observe, you'll witness how actually a sampling plan is being prepared and how the individuals or professionals go about do sampling. Okay. So these are the references which I've employed. You're also free to go through these. So in subsequent classes, we'll understand the characteristics. So thank you. I'm done with the presentation. Now we'll open the session for Q&A.